You're watching News 24 Live. South Africans woke up on Wednesday morning to the sad news of the passing of All Black legend Jonah Lomu. We decided to catch up with one of his former Springbok opponents who remembers with great fondness many encounters with the Kiwi legend, Davet Barry. Davet, thanks very much for joining us today. First of all, what was he like as a player and as a man off the field?
Yeah, no, we all know his ability on the field. He was a fantastic rugby player, and he was probably the first real international hero of rugby union. He said after the 1995 World Cup, he set the trend for rugby union, and it was fantastic to see a legend like him play the game. And obviously off the field he's a fantastic character and a great guy. I mean, we saw the documentary a couple of weeks ago about him visiting South Africa. You can just see what it means to him, all the people, and his work off the field nowadays, helping children and helping people develop.
Now, we know he had health complications or kidney complications. He then sort of took his stature in a sort of ambassador role, like you mentioned earlier. So he was very influential in the game of rugby. But I guess a shadow of the player that he used to be. As we know, he was the first global superstar of rugby union. He really changed the way, specifically wingers played rugby. Big, bulky, strong, just bulldozing players. What do you remember about him facing him?
Yeah, listen, he was just one of those guys that was very difficult to defend against. When he had the ball, it's just one of those guys, you don't really know where to tackle him. If you go too low, he'll just bump you off, and if you go a little bit too high, he's too strong. So you sort of, I used to just sort of jump on him, and grab him to get him down like a sort of a cheetah catching a buck. So, phenomenal rugby player, ball in hand, he was just unbelievable. I remember the 1995 England game, he was just, people didn't know how to stop him. Luckily South Africans actually got hold of him and unfortunately never got a try against us. But he's a great rugby player, and like you said, he was one of the guys who really set rugby on the map. With the way he played.
With the influence that he's had on the game, what kind of players do you see in modern times that have sort of taken on that Jonah Lomu mould? I mean, they often draw parallels with Julian Savea, the current All Black winger. Anyone in South Africa?
Yeah, Dean Hall was a little bit like him. He could run over guys and around people, great handoff. So, he was one of those strong wingers that we had in the South African mold. But, I don't think there's anybody really you compare him to. He was just, in his own right, he was just a legend, and he played so well, and he was so strong and fast, and that's a lethal combination, a guy that's fast, big and strong, So it's very difficult to bring a guy like that down.
When he played in the 95 World Cup, he was only 20 years old. What was, former Springboks impression of this guy? I mean, he really did burst on the scene, and as we said, he's changed the face of backline play. I mean, what were the sort of talk in the change room of how to manage this guy?
Yeah, I think it was, we obviously plan around that guy, but it's only one guy in a team, So, obviously there's a lot of other threats, especially if you play against New Zealand. But obviously he was a great threat, and, we'll probably kick away from a guy like that. So that will probably be one of the strategies. And then obviously if he's got ball in hand, make sure you get him down as soon as possible and close his space as soon as possible. Because if the guy's in full pace, like we mentioned, he'll be very difficult to bring down.